Good evening, everybody. How you doing? All right, so I was an only child, and thank you. And so it should be no surprise, right, that I thought the world revolved around me. In fact, I'll be the first to admit I was pretty selfish, and I was well behaved, but I didn't really think about how my actions affected others. My grandparents, like the boss earring, yeah, very George Michael. So as an only child, my grandparents taught me about the golden rule, but it didn't really resonate with me. But little did I know it would have a profound effect on my life later on. I grew up in a mixed Lutheran and Catholic household, and so I grew up with the Christian aspect of the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But the reality is that this concept exists in many different religions and philosophies throughout the world. So obviously there's something to it, right? But as a child, growing up as an only child, it didn't really resonate with me. You know, I didn't have brothers or sisters that I had to share my toys with, and you know, the decisions that I made in my life really didn't affect anybody apart from me. I was very self-centered, right? But as I grew up and kind of in the intervening years, I feel like I've gotten a little bit better. I hope I've gotten a little bit better. I've matured a bit. In my work and in my travels, I've gotten to meet a lot of different people. I've gotten to see a lot of different cultures, different ways of solving problems, solving the same problems. And I've seen, or I've met hundreds of different people with different perspectives, different needs, different philosophies. And each of these unique perspectives has helped me to broaden my own perspective, right? They've helped me to break down the barriers that I was maintaining between me and the others, okay? Often these barriers are created because we don't understand each other. It's a communication issue. But the reality is that we're actually hardwired to be able to create connections with other people. And Giacomo Rizzolatti was doing some work with macaque monkeys where he was studying motor neurons, basically, for the macaque to be able to reach into a bowl of nuts and take a nut and pop it in its mouth. They were recording neurons firing in its brain. And what they found is, purely by accident, a research assistant came into the lab and reached into that same bowl and took a peanut and popped it in his mouth, and the very same neurons in the monkey's brain fired. And this is when they discovered mirror neurons, which are the root of empathy in our physiology. And so these mirror neurons allowed the monkey to vicariously experience the act of eating that peanut in very much the same way that we are able to see what's going on in somebody else's life and vicariously experience that and kind of see things through their perspective. And that's exactly what the golden rule asks of us, right? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But back to my story. So through my moves and travels and growing up, I met all these different people and my perspective was broadened, but it wasn't until I came to work on the web that I really started to understand the implications of the golden rule. So, you know, when I was a child and growing up and being in college, my decisions, the repercussions of my decisions were not all that great. They were to my family, to my friends, to my teachers maybe. But on the web, every decision that I make affects hundreds, thousands, sometimes millions of people. Simple decisions that I make. A few clicks of my mouse, a few keystrokes, and I could ruin somebody's day, right? I can make it so somebody can't check into their flight. That's a lot of power. And I'm often reminded of Stan Lee's wise words, with great power comes great responsibility. And when you're stuck behind your keyboard coding away, whether it's day or night, it's easy to forget about people. And it's easy to forget that we design in order to solve people's problems. We get caught up in our own ego. But it's important to pay attention to the details. My mom always said, you know, if you're going to do something right. And so I've always approached the web as a craftsman and thinking about sweating the details, sweating the important stuff, and making it my mission to bring about the web that I want to see. And as schmaltzy and kind of self-aggrandizing as that may sound, it's also pretty shrewd, because the golden rule is actually a really good business. It makes a lot of business sense. What is the golden rule if not awesome customer service, right? I want to wake up every day and think, how can I make my customers' lives better? And if I do that, I create a lasting legacy, and I create a strong base of customer advocates as well. Plus, I enjoy my work because I get to do stuff that actually makes a difference. One way I found to actually demonstrate empathy and to demonstrate respect for users is through the incorporation of accessibility into my work. This is a really important thing. And it's about recognizing that all users have special needs when they're trying to access the web. It could be poor vision, color blindness, fat fingers, and a small phone. But accessibility asks us to create opportunities for people to be able to access content, to be able to accomplish key tasks, realizing that they may do that in different ways, which requires being empathetic, being able to put ourselves in their shoes and solve problems for them before they encounter them. Now, empathy may seem difficult, but it's actually pretty easy. And John Rawls, a philosopher, came up with a great way to kind of show us how we can be empathetic. He used this thought experiment with small groups where he would actually have them come up with their ideal society. And it could be anything. It could be a monarchy, it could be anarchy, it could be whatever. But the only stipulation was you couldn't know what role you would fill in that society, right? So who would be a rational person if they created a society that didn't respect the elderly, if they might end up being elderly in that situation, right? You wouldn't do that. So in very much the same way as designing a society, designing a website, I need to be very cautious about what all of the decisions are that I'm making, because every decision that I make affects the user's experience, affects the way that they understand and interact with the brands that I represent. And the golden rule has helped me understand that to be and become a more empathetic human being, and to really embrace the golden rule. And I have my grandparents to thank for that. Thank you all very much.